Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is Jazzy Vita Store Sasquatch, and we are here doing our Throwback Thursday. I have three movies I came across. One I actually looked up after seeing a movie, and we'll talk about it when we talk about that movie. And then I have the four episodes of Better Call Saul. Also, with that is our box office review for the weekend. We'll start here with. So I came about this movie on Stars, I believe. No, Showtime, actually, I'm sorry. And it is Everybody Wants Some, directed by Richard Linklater, starring Blake Jenner, Tyler Holken, Ryan Guzman. In 1980 Texas, a college freshman moves into an old frat house with his new baseball teammates as they party their way through the final weekend in the summer. This came out on February 26th, or no, sorry. This that was the date I watched it. This came out um April 7th of 2016, had a budget of $10 million, an opening of 360,000, only a gross of 30.4. The reason why I even caught my eye though is because it was like a heavy influence, like Days and Confused, and I was so confused because it was like this Glenn Powell character playing a way like more mature, college bound Matthew McConaughey character. So I kind of wanted to check that out, and I'm glad I did. It was definitely worth the watch. I think this is one of those movies that was never gonna be a box office hit, but it's kinda like Days of Confused as is, and as is in a sister movie as to where when you do kind of find it finally, you're gonna really enjoy it, and you're like, "Oh, man, why didn't I watch this movie so much sooner?" Glenn Powell here, like I said, was in this, Temple Baker, the other freshman, Wyatt Russell plays, like, a scam artist, Zoe Dutch is a love interest, and Justin Street is the crazy pitcher. He does crazy stuff. Honestly, Tyler Hoechlin really is like the one that looks like the most like a 1980s baseball player with the mustache and the look. But everything kind of works here. I mean, it is so much of a sister movie of Days and Confused. If you like Days and Confused, I really suggest if you have never seen this movie to check that out. And that is Everybody Wants Some, directed by Richard Linklater. I have three for you, so we're gonna do these kind of quick. Um, the second one here I found on MGM, like drive through or whatever. It's crazy, but I haven't sat down and watched the movie in forever. It's called Eagle Eye, directed by DJ Karasu, um, starring Shia LaBeouf, Michelle Mahanigan, Rosario Dawson, Billy Bob Thornton. Two strangers become pawns of an unknown woman. Obviously it's the Eagle Eye system and they become pawns of. She takes her kid. This is another one of those ones where it's like everyone's kind of in this that you don't realize. Michael Chiklis, Anthony McKay, Ethan Embry, all great supporting role in this. Cameron Boyce is actually the little boy, Michelle Mahanigan's little kid, so kind of crazy seeing him in this. This came out in September 26th of 2008, had a budget of 80 million. Did 29 million on its opening, and then had a gross of 178.76 million. This is a crazy movie. I remember when it came out, how good it was, and like how like poignant and everything was with what was going on in society as well, like what was going on in this movie. I mean, it was almost a little bit ahead of its time, to be honest with you, in 2008. I mean, this movie had been right out of 2016 or something like that. It had been perfect for it. It is a little bit before, but it is a crazy movie, crazy thrill ride. And definitely one of those ones I'm kind of glad I got to watch. If you're kind of wanting to watch it, I'm sure MGM Plus is connected with Amazon, so I'm sure it's on Amazon as well. I would definitely check this movie out if you've never seen it, because there are a lot of people in this, in that movie. Third movie here, the final one, I actually went and looked out because I remember kind of talking about Juno Temple and like kind of where I was found her. And this is the movie I found her in, and you gotta remember I found her in the time period of around this movie when you go back and watch this movie, because it is very important to remember that this movie is like 13 years ago. Um, it is Small Apartments, directed by Jonas Ackerlund, starring Matt Lucas, Peter Stormare, and James Caan. A man is surrounded by strange events and odd neighbors in this adaptation of Chris Millis's novel. I'm just gonna list this crazy ass cast for you: Matt Lucas, Rebel Wilson, um, James Marsden, DJ Quell, Dolph Lundgren plays a self-help guru. Rosie Perez is in this. David Ketchner, Noel Gugamali is in this. Billy Crystal, Johnny Knoxville, Juno Temple. James Caan, I think I haven't seen that. James Caan is in this fucking movie with all these people. This is a crazy black comedy. It has like a very mature fucking behind the scenes story behind it. So I would not watch this around kids. It's an hour and a half long, but it is like one of those crazy movies where I listen to all the people I said. It's one of those independent movies that it just kind of worked for what it was. This is another one of those movies that's kind of like everybody wants them. You're gonna have to find it to even watch it. I had to find it to even watch it, and because it just kind of randomly popped up, kind of like simming through these movies. That's also why I kind of want to go through this one day. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing all these crazy people um, in this movie that is just kind of wild and out. There is just the ultimate like depravity of humanity is a part of this movie, and it's like set in L.A. Johnny Knoxville's in this. It is crazy. It's on Tubi, honestly, if you want to watch it. It's March 2013 is all I got for it. It was a French release. I believe it went straight to DVD streaming. Had a $2 million budget, which you figure with that cast, it'd just be like a huge bloated budget on the cast. But I'm sure that like there are so many like small roles that kind of big names are playing here that they kind of got away with probably minimum pay here and stuff like this. And the director had to have known them or producer, whoever was working on this. But it is a wild cast, a wild story. I don't even really want to tell you the background of it because that'd probably get me banned on um everything I'm on to tell you this like concept of this movie or how it kind of starts and how it unravels. But it's definitely like to do with mental illness, and this guy is definitely suffering from mental illness throughout all this. So that is something you're interested in. That is something you should check out. Is Small Apartments, directed by Jonas Ackerlund. And now for our Better Call Saul part of this, we are on the last part of season 2 here. We are on season 2, episode 7, Inflatable. It came out March 28th of 2016, about a decade ago. We open in the past as Jimmy is a kid looking at a Playboy in his dad's shop. He's supposed to be sweeping. He sees that his dad is being scammed by this guy, and the guy kind of looks at him and gives him pretty much a life lesson that he takes to heart is there are wolves and sheep in this world, and Jimmy then makes him pay for the cigarettes, and as you see him pay for the cigarettes, Jimmy takes the money that the guy paid this for with the cigarettes. So we kind of see Jimmy early kind of dealing with that, problems that he's had pretty much his whole life. Mike and Jimmy are meeting in the courthouse to tell the DA that the gun was his on the deal with Tuco. Jimmy tells Mike he's doing the right thing and tells him about this season 1 interaction with Tuco that he had where he was hog-tied in the desert. Jimmy calls Kim and they are talking about going to her new job with the sandpiper firm. She's pretty excited. That's pretty much the C plot of this. Jimmy goes back to his office to write a resignation to Davis and Maine. He finds out that the bonus he got was not guaranteed, decides not to quit. Jimmy driving back to Albuquerque gets entranced by an inflatable doll, seeing him. You can see the clothing, the bright colors, they're kind of waving around. You start to see a plan form in his mind. He walks in the office with his new colorful suits. And then this starts with him being a montage of just being a problem employee and all this. And finally, basically, him and Buford Maine decide to part ways from that. Kim is writing her resignation letter to Howard. We see on her desk. He wants to create. Jimmy busts in and talk to her. He wants to create a law firm with Kim, offering to pay her out of HHM with the bonus money he got from Davis and Maine, which is a whole deal of why he couldn't get fired, and it's kind of part of the resignation deal and stuff like this, where he kind of changed his mind. So here we are. How he pulls back. Mike meeting with the daughter-in-law, who is Carrie Condon. I've never brought this up because I didn't look it up, and now I kind of have. She is awesome in a lot of the stuff I've seen her in. I just literally watched her in 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, and you know how I felt about F1 because it was one of the movies of the year. So she is one of those natural actresses, and she was very good in this. The U-Haul dropping Jimmy's stuff off at the nail salon. Jimmy sets the answering machine. Mike pulls up and starts to watch Tuco's uncle. So we get to another scene where Mike's pulling up to this abandoned lot, and he's actually watching Mike's uncle's, or Tuco's uncle outside of his restaurant. Kim goes into a job interview with Sandpiper Firm. It goes very well. She meets with Jimmy. Or afterwards, she is smoking a cigarette on the edge there, and she sees Jimmy's card that he gave her that he kind of made the deal with. It's like a W and an M together because of Wexler and McGill. And she rips it in half, but you can see kind of an idea pulled up. She pulls up to the nail salon. He's meeting with a film student. She's not taking the job. She's going to do the solo practice. So she wanted to do a solo practice because she doesn't really want to do the law the way Jimmy's going to do the law here. And I mean, I don't blame her. And she doesn't really want her name to be associated with whenever Jimmy kind of flails out, too. So I'm sure that has later to do implications and stuff like this. So they agreed to run the same office but separate um, partnerships. And that is the end of the episode. Basically, here we are starting a brand new. Jimmy and Kim will be working together. And Tuco, all right, and Mike is going after Tuco's uncle, that is for sure, because obviously the twins showed up at the daughter in law's hotel. Mike didn't like that. He's not going to have none of that. So that's where we're kind of leaving off here. Episode 8, Fifi, came out April 4th, 2016. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, April 4th, 2016. So it must have been a week off. At the border, following one of Tuco's uncle's trucks, we kind of see his trip through. We see where he has marked off his little spot with his gun with the popsicle sticks that he kind of takes every time he goes through the area. So that is kind of how he's getting through the border there. Jimmy and Kimmy outside a hot dog shack. Jimmy tells her to find to kind of sneak the letter into Howard so that she can get Mesa Verde basically from HHM. She's waiting outside of Howard's office the next day. She hands him a resignation letter. He expects her to take another firm job, and she tells him that her decision is to go to solo practice. Basically, he's pretty impressed with her from that point on, and he tells her that not to worry about any of the loans or anything like that from what they did or any obligation of money that they owe her. So that is also pretty cool that he did that. Back at Tuco's restaurant, they're unloading the truck, and Mike is watching from afar. Um, he notices his Uncle Paul pull up, and the store closes. Kim at a lunch meeting with Mesa Verde, and she gives him her sales pitch. They like it. She walks in the office where Jimmy is meeting with a realtor, and it's an old dentist's office where they're going to split their kind of office here. She says yes. She's very happy. She thinks it's going to go well. Back at Chuck's, Howard shows up to tell him they are losing Mesa Verde. They're going to go with Kim Wexler because she left the law firm. He tells them that she was planning on pooling her resources to go with Jimmy. Chuck decides to go to the meeting and kind of save their job or save their client here with Mesa Verde. He goes to a meeting agreeing to keep the offices running normal. You can tell he's a little uncomfortable. Chuck makes a pitch to them. Mesa Verde wants to stick with Kim Wexler. Right afterward, Chuck has a weakness spell. Basically, this actually goes well for Chuck. They want to stay with it, but Chuck has such a good job selling them that they do end up staying there. The film students are on a military base with Jimmy about to film probably a new commercial for his new law firm, I'm assuming, especially since he deals with elder law and he's kind of has an elderly person with him. Um, and they're going into like a World War II like jet and stuff like this. So I kind of see what he's doing here. Chuck assistant calls Jimmy for some advice on what to do with Chuck. Kim outside of the new office when Jimmy is pulling up. She did not get Mesa Verde. She tells Jimmy. It's unfortunate. Tuco's uncle's car is still being followed by Mike. Pulls into a garage with an armed man. Another truck from the restaurant also pulls into the garage. Jimmy pulls up to Chuck's house. The assistant is there. Jimmy tells him to leave. And basically, we see this that Jimmy decides to sabotage the Mesa Verde files. He actually does a really good job here. He fools Chuck at first. Mike is making something with his granddaughter. We see that as a hose with a bunch of nails in it. He plans on basically doing like a makeshift, like those police gadgets where he's gonna throw it and then hit the wheels. And that is how we open up this next episode here. Episode 9, Nailed. April 11th, 2016. The truck's driving along. Like I said, we see him pop it. He said he leaves the driver alive. Was like pretty much a big clue for who. Chuck getting ready at his house. He goes to a hearing with Howard. Howard's waiting for him. Jimmy was watching from afar behind a tree, so obviously Jimmy has to kind of replace everything that he sabotaged here. Jimmy sabotage is being spotted from Jimmy sabotage is being spotted from the office. Chuck is in denial about being wrong. He even tells Mesa Verde they were wrong. The people are clearly upset, so everyone kind of gets messed up here. Of course, Mesa Verde does not like this and fires HHM from there and tells Kim. Um, so that is the story there. Mike is at a bar, decides to buy a round for the house. He's back outside Tuco's uncle restaurant. Mike is still watching him. He strokes out for being so angry. So Mike stole a bunch of money from the tires as well, like $250,000. They end up finding out. Tuco's uncle did like he stroke out or something. Mike's at a bar, decides Kim around Jimmy, and Kim and Jimmy are working on taking out a dentist chair back at the office, a time lapse of them painting. And then finally she gets a call back from Paige. She got Mesa Verde back. Chuck had the locks changed and he's waiting for Jimmy and Kim to confront Jimmy on the sabotage of the filing. I don't know if Kim knows. At this point in time, you don't know if Kim knows if Jimmy's telling the truth or if Jimmy did this. But no matter what, she plays a hell of a poker face here and tells Chuck that, like, basically he's despicable for even thinking that Jimmy could be a possible of something like this atrocious and stuff like this. And he's not very happy. She's not very happy with him. Um, they get back. There's a little hustle in Kim. You gotta remember that there's a little hustle in Kim. So even though she might not like everything Jimmy does, she kind of gets the point of why he does it and the measurements of all this. And she even does later use this to kind of get him to like, oh, you kind of might have fucked up. If Chuck's so smart, he's eventually gonna figure out where the fuck you went and did this at, and that gets him all crazy. So that's how this episode ends. But before that, we have Mike at a diner, and he gets a phone call from Nacho. Nacho, they meet in a spot. He asks him if Mike knows anything about what happened. Mike's pretty much denying it. Nacho's not happy. Mike has it for Tuco's uncle because obviously this affects Nacho because he knows Mike and he knows Tuco's uncle and he knows Tuco. But Tuco's not someone I would want to be on the wrong side of, so I do not blame Nacho at all for not wanting to be in this predicament. Crazy episode here. We're coming down to the last season. At the end of this episode, Chuck hits his head on the copier machine falling down, trying to prove that Jimmy was there. So wild ending here, and we know that it's not going to be good. So episode 10, Klick, April 18th, 2016. Is the release date. Jimmy and Chuck are in the hospital in the past at their mom's deathbed. Jimmy decides to leave to get food, and Chuck decides to stay. And at this point in time, the mom does pass away. And as she is passing away, she asks for Jimmy, so you can kind of tell Chuck didn't like that much, and he doesn't even tell Jimmy about that fact at all. I don't know if it ever pops up or if it ever popped up, but as far as I know, Jimmy don't know. As far as we know, Jimmy don't know. Back to the fall. Jimmy rushes in, gets him to call the hospital. Obviously, once Chuck gets in the hospital, there's gonna be a problem. So Jimmy ends up with a temporary guardianship, and Ernie even steps in and says that he called Jimmy, and that is the reason why Jimmy was there. And Ernie knows that Jimmy is not there for that reason. So it is interesting there. Basically, Chuck has to accept that Jimmy is innocent here, even though he is not. Nacho takes the truck driver to Tuco's uncle to be interrogated. Chuck is trying to argue with the doctor about going through radiology. That's where we get the temporary, blah, blah, blah. Mike meets up with the gun salesman again. We see that he is looking for a rifle and he's a pretty good shot. Jimmy tells Chuck he is going and takes home. Okay, here we go. Back at the hospital, Chuck is waking up from his catatonic state. So they finally get everything done. Chuck is finally waking up. He's starting to feel like just like a normal person because he was in a catatonic state that we have seen him in before with the electricity buzz and all this for whatever condition he has. So he gets out of it. He says, "Look, we can get you back." Chuck tells Jimmy he just wants to be left alone. I kind of understand that part. Like, no matter if you are crazy or what's going on, or you are mad at someone, like you just got out of the hospital. Like, you don't want to be around no one. Michael has a rifle. He's climbing a hill in the middle of nowhere. He sets up for Tuco's uncle. Back to Jimmy's. This is interesting because Nacho actually knows. So Nacho kind of gets in the way of the shot, and then even tries to stop him by holding the car that Mike came in horned down and letting him know, like, hey, do not take this shot. Chuck is in the middle of some kind of episode. He's covering everything with blankets here when Jimmy comes back. We had already seen him go into the garage and grab something, and when he comes back, when Jimmy comes in, he admits to Chuck that he did it. And he even says it is your word against mine. And then we find out that Chuck actually went and grabbed a tape recording device to have Jimmy being on tape saying, "Hey, I did it." That it's crazy wild that he would even do it. Even if Jimmy didn't do it, I think that had no matter what, if Jimmy was like completely innocent, even though we know he's not completely innocent, I do really do believe that he would have admitted to doing it just to get Chuck to like ease out and relax. So there is kind of like a problem there. that even with Chuck's recording, like I would definitely argue that 100%. So that is our Better Call Saul season 2 wrap up here. Can't wait to start season 3. I'm sure it's gonna pick up because eventually we got to meet. We have to meet what's his name from the restaurant because Nacho and Mike are doing too many deals. So eventually we're gonna meet Gus here. Lots about to pick up in season 3. I think there's 5 seasons or 6 seasons, so we're only like half. We're only going to be halfway through season 3 too. So there's going to be a lot to go through. So looking forward to that. Next week, it'll be the first 4 episodes of season 3 for Better Call Saul, and then our box office report for February 20th of the 22nd is Goat, the Stefan Curry movie. See, I actually wrote it down this time. I remembered it. I thought about it. Made $17 million. Had a total of 58.3 million, and then we had Wuthering Heights. That is the Margot Robbie and the Frankenstein dude movie. I think Jacob Eldery, 14.2 million, total 60 million. Psycho Killer, the movie I saw and said would make 15 point whatever million, made a tenth of that at 1.6 million, and Send Help still holding strong. And only like a $4 million weekend, but overall it's like a $60 million. And like every week it's gotten better. And I read something where the word of mouth campaign is pretty high on that, and that the drop percentage is one of the like lowest rate of dropping from week to week in a long time. So that's crazy. The Psycho Killer movie, I don't know. I where my I listened to one guy's review and I listened to a couple other reviews, but the one guy review, everything that he basically hated about the movie is like everything I liked about the movie. And I think that a lot of people's um like a lot of people's like disconnect there is they expected like a manhunt movie, but really it's a straight slasher movie. So it's kind of like a different rules and a different kind of expectation and different setup that you should get. So I think that is part of it. And maybe I was just in a good mood and I just liked the movie. Like I didn't like sit back and like think, oh well, this is like why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? So that could have been it. Definitely gonna do that this week with Scream. I mean, I'm already recording tomorrow's video. Even though I know I'm gonna go see Scream tomorrow, because I want to make sure that like you guys don't watch a video and think that I'm like spoiling something about the movie when I will not know anything about what I'm talking about when I first start the video. So I'm letting you guys know that for sure. Um, yes, we're so close to being live. Once we get live, we'll just have so much fun. We'll figure everything out. We even have that script that we're writing, so we might even do some of that live too as well. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow as well. I have the whole outline done. We'll go through the whole outline word for word. I'll even put it up on the screen so you can read it. You don't have to hear my voice talk about it. I think everyone will like that. Yeah, just follow, guys. So close to being live. I think we could even do a YouTube live to test everything out before we even do a Facebook live. So we'll all look into everything. Thank you guys very much for watching, and please have a good rest of your day or night. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment your top movie picks for Throwback Thursday in the comment section. And see you next time in the cave.